Hi, everyone. Jane Applegath here, founder of the Epic Vision Zone Conversations That Inspire. Each show, we offer you an inspiring person or message to bring you closer to your big dream so that you can live your epic life now. Thank you for being here. And if you're listening to the audio version, be sure to follow the episode on your favorite app. And if watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Dianna Hardy said, "It only takes one voice at the right pitch to start an avalanche." Dr. Doreen Downing is a psychologist and an expert on how to overcome public speaking. Her passion is helping people find their voice by tapping into their authentic strengths so that they can overcome anxiety, be confident, and speak without fear. Having once suffered from stage fright and conquering it, she discovered being connected to your authentic self is the key to relaxed and confident speaking. Her career journey led her to realize that at the core of social problems were communication and relationship issues. From this knowledge, she found her calling to facilitate personal and professional transformation by helping people recover their vibrant inner spirit so that they can speak with confidence. Doreen now teaches others how to dissolve stage fright forever through private coaching speaking circles, fearless speaking workshops, and self-guided e-courses. In addition to coaching and online courses, she is also the author of The 7 Secrets to Essential Speaking. Find Your Voice, Change Your Life, a book that teaches you how to transform your anxiety with mindful presence and genuine connection. Welcome, Doreen. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I was listening to you and I went, yeah, that's true. You can transform your anxiety into a more natural presence. So thank you for the introduction.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I am so excited to delve into this. Doreen and I were just talking a little bit beforehand, and it's really exceptional the work that she does. It helps us in so many ways. So let's get started. What inspired you, Doreen, to do the work that you do today?
I would say that has many angles. I could, I just have to trust that what I need to say today will come out because I would say that as a psychologist, I've always been interested in the deeper nature that's within the potential that can get activated or doesn't get activated. And, with the PhD in psychology, I learned a lot about how people are, human behavior, and how we get into structures and behaviors that might have originated when we were really young. And then we carry that through life. And so that I would say that that's my first inspiration is what's inside of us that's so brilliant. And I think that early on in my training, it was like, what's wrong? But I have to tell you, I've always been way more fascinated by what's brilliant about what's inside of people. What
Mm.
makes them alive and what makes them happy and what makes them, the most potential that they can activate or manifest in the world. So I would say that's my answer to that question is that I just the curiosity and the love of what is naturally human nature.
Mm, beautiful. I love that you said it's not what's wrong with individuals because we are our own worst critics, right? And we always think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I
Yes.
do that when others do? But rather focus on the positive and say there's nothing wrong with you. We just need to explore and find your brilliance. So beautiful. Absolutely love that. So, public speaking anxiety, what causes this public speaking anxiety? Maybe you can delve into that a little bit for us, because I know a lot of
Okay.
us suffer from it.
Yes, and I did too, Jane.
Yeah.
I did too. And this goes along partly with your first question around what drew me to this was my own stage fright, my own suffering. I had a PhD in psychology from the University of California, Berkeley. I mean, of all things, pretty prestigious here. And I had a successful private practice. But guess what? I hid that I was terrified of speaking up in front of not just public speaking, but what we might call small group speaking, which I think is still public, right? And so that it's a whole nother story how I woke up one day, and I'm not going to get into that, but basically it was a wake up call to say, hey girl, you're working with other people and their fears and you're hiding your own. So
Mm.
I don't know whether it was courage or whether it was, hey, I want to be more of who I can be, and I'm not doing that. I did all this layering of being a professional, and I think it was a quote by Michelangelo that he chiseled until he set the angel free, and he saw the angel in the marble, and that's what I felt like. I felt like PhD training, going through orals, going through dissertation, all that was the layering of marble. And my true spirit was locked inside. And that's where my voice felt like it was. The outer voice, hello, I'm Dr. Downing and I can help you. Sit down. So I think that, so in a way, then what is public speaking is a fear or anxiety is I suffered. And
Mm.
just going to something like Toastmasters to try and try and try and learn how to do a perfect beginning, middle, end, and how to do gestures and vocal variety was only took me so far until I realized I needed to do an inner journey. I needed to
Mm.
face my fear. I needed to go deep back into my own life where my mother was hospitalized for depression, in and out. We stayed with my grandmother, and she would always go, shh, be quiet, or your mom's going to get sick and go back to the hospital. Now, is that a route to the fear of speaking up and expressing yourself? So
Wow.
that, and I have techniques that I work with people who, and I have lots of stories about early trauma or um, just in ways in which they didn't get seen and heard properly so that they could flourish early in life. So, yeah, my approach is first find out as much as you can about the root. And if somebody has had a really sweet, wonderful, no problem, no dysfunction family, there's still challenges because you've heard my podcast where I interview people who have challenged finding their voice. It still happens. Like something will happen in college or their first job, and they're thrust into a situation where they're supposed to speak up and they freeze. So
Mm.
that's almost like a trauma moment. It wasn't in childhood, but so it can happen anywhere along the line. And I think, just to go back to what is anxiety, I think it's a disruption of our system, and it takes us to a place where we don't want to ever go back. So we'll do anything to avoid it, like refuse to go to a party because you're going to be asked to give a toast, or
Right.
show up at a meeting or something where you have to give a report. So yeah, it's good old fashioned anxiety, and it can be helped.
Yeah. Wow. That I what I gathered from that right near the end, I felt like you said it's a disruption. It's a disruption of your core essence. So it takes it
Yes.
offline. And
Hmm.
when it takes it offline, you're in that fight or flight because you've
Hmm.
disrupted the connection. And absolutely, I could see that. Yes, because I've had anxiety like that where I was in front of individuals making a speech and it wasn't a big crowd. And all of a sudden I was just like I couldn't speak. I was like
Yeah.
blubbering and like you
Yeah.
said, where it came from, I have no idea, but thank
Mhm.
goodness I had my assistant there, so she kind of filled in till I got myself back together. But I think it's happened
Uh-huh.
to all of us at some point in our lives. And I thank you so much for opening up that door and, you know, expressing to people that it is something that happens to the best of us. I believe even with professional speakers, I've heard stories.
Uh-huh.
So we're all very
Uh-huh.
good at putting on the cover. And like you said, you put
Yes.
on the cover and you went down and said, yes, here I am, you know, Dr. Downing. And yet
Uh-huh.
behind the scene, you were disconnected. So thank you for that. Well, here's a
Mhm.
really interesting question. When it comes to promoting yourself, what we call the elevator speech, you say to trust you know who you are and what you offer and speak
Mm.
from the heart. So tell us about that, because I feel that there is a big issue with trusting ourselves and trusting that what we have to offer is not coming from just wanting that sale, but if we're true to who we are, it's really sharing our gifts to those we are here to serve. So maybe give us some insight into that, if you could, to trust our quote unquote elevator pitch.
Oh, Jane, you pretty much just said it right then and there around knowing who we really are in our essence and believing in our gifts. And I think that goes back to some of my, the deep dive inquiry into childhood and how, because there are developmental phases, and one of them is, according to Erickson, trust and mistrust. And you
Mm.
have to, well, it's not have to, but you get to go through these developmental phases and you come out the other end with knowing a little bit about trust, how to trust yourself, how to trust the universe around you. And so if you're in an environment that's, well, my father was alcoholic. So if there's a disruptive element in your environment, you can't trust that there's going to be stability. So I'm doing a little deeper dive in that response to your explanation. But to come back to what you pointed to was the essence.
Mm.
How do we take that journey to the essence of who we are? How do we, and there's some really wonderful techniques, like the going through a park and you meet the little girl, or you go further and you meet the critical one standing up against a tree, and then you go deeper and deeper and deeper until you meet, you would say, the essence or the spiritual self or the soul, and she or he has a message for you. What is that? And so that processes like that help you learn to identify when you are in that centered place and be able to open up. And I'll just say one more word that's really important to what you just said is listening. Who is
Mm.
listening? If the critic in
Right.
you is listening, or is the one who's curious? Are you the critic or are you the curious one? So,
Oh, I love that. That is so vital. You're absolutely
mm,
right. Because, yes, depending on who is listening, it's going to affect the outcome. But that awareness is key to understanding. You know, once you're aware of that, which now I am, thank you very much. You could say, now wait a second, that's my critic that's listening. I'm going to change the channel. You know, but
mhm.
until you understand that it is either the one that's curious or the critic, your critic will just, you know, have a loud voice and speak to you and say, okay, I hear you, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, really, really powerful. So
And
this one
that
goes,
happens a lot. I
go
was just
ahead.
going to say, the way you described it, the critic sounds like when I hear people talk about their childhoods and they've been bullied, and then they
Mm,
grow up being really hard on themselves. They bully themselves. So that was a thought I just heard from what you said. The critic who's really
yes.
harsh. Mm,
Absolutely. Self-bullying.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'd never thought of that. Wow, we've got
Yeah.
so much we could unpack just from that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, this is so
Yeah.
rich. Well, introverts and public speaking. Now, can introverts be good at public speaking?
I'm an introvert.
Oh, really?
And I'm a keynote speaker. Are you an introvert or you see yourself as an extrovert?
No, I see myself as an extrovert. I
Really?
get
I feel like you are more introverted because of your depth and your awareness of that internal uh, sense of ourselves. But anyway,
I
so
could be
back
both.
to the question. Yeah, I am both actually. Yeah, I am
Yeah.
both. Well, yeah, no, for sure. I have to tell you that the people who are extroverted have a style, and unfortunately, we use them as the prime models of how we want to be. So the rest of us who have struggled, like me going to Toastmasters, to try and be one of those kind of speakers that gets out and can get on a stage and prance around and stomp my hand and ooh, that isn't true to my nature. My nature is much quieter. I'm calmer. I want to radiate from my essence. I don't want
Mm,
to be a dynamic speaker. I want to be what I call a magnetic speaker, that I draw people to me magnetically. Already I see you and I are connected, and you and I are, we're drawn to each other in such a way that, that the listening that you give is a beautiful listening. So it helps bring out more of the truth of what I'm saying. And it goes along with, Jane, I think you make the world a safer place for people. I feel it as I'm
mm,
expressing myself spontaneously with you today. I mean, these weren't prepared questions. I looked at them, but I trusted that I would be responding to you, not just the question, but the you. So
mm,
that's, I think introverts have actually, I might say, I prefer them because they're more compelling and they're magnetic, and they feel like they resonate more. I love vulnerability more than I
mm.
do a kind of strength that feels like,
Right,
okay, uh, I'm going to do it anyway. It's more like, I'm going to do it anyway. A different tone. You could feel
right.
the two different tones I just mimicked.
Yes, thank you. Well, my interpretation of introvert and extrovert may be a little skewed then, because I'm often very friendly with people. I will go up to strangers and say something
Hmm.
that I see an introvert as someone who would never do that. So I just your
Hmm.
from your description though, yes, I would agree. Then I would be more of an introvert in the sense that yes, I'm not, don't get up there and rah rah sis boom bah, but I love what you said that you want to be magnetic because that's
Hmm.
drawing people to you. And what that is that the energy within you is connecting with the energy from those around you. And
Yes.
that is so much more
Yeah.
powerful than speaking loudly at them, right?
Hmm.
And you
Yes.
mentioned
With.
vulnerability. Yes, exactly, with them. Because
Yeah.
vulnerability is really all about the trust. Trusting
Uh-huh.
yourself and trusting that the
Oh,
audience is feeling you. And
yes.
that's being vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And
It's.
thank you for your compliments. You gave me chills. I mean, I was just, thank you so much. So, moving on for this one, it is about what can people do then if they are hijacked by their nerves?
That's exactly the word that I hear so often from clients that start working with me, is that's the experience, is being hijacked, and then they feel overwhelmed and they can't function because it's just like an attack, an assault, which is true in a way. Panic is like an assault on your being, and you said it earlier about a disconnect from the essence of who you are. Yeah, a lot of people just disassociate, get out of the body. So you ask how. I have many frames. There's several that I love. There's face, there's embrace, and replace. So face, embrace, and replace, and that's from somewhere along the line in my journey, I came across that, and I can't uh, give credit to the person I heard it from. I think it was Billy Atwell. I was on his podcast a long time ago, and he's had a Fear Not, I think was his original podcast. But what about that whole idea of learning to face? And then I've got techniques. I showed you one earlier about how to face. And then there's the whole idea and its embrace, which is acceptance and kind of holding the part of you that feels like really, when we're young and we're scared, and doesn't a hug or being held help us settle our nervous systems? So it's self-soothing. And then face means, okay, let's just face it. What's going on? And so that's one system that I have as an overarching way to move step by step easily, learning how to do each step. Each step is like, what does replace really mean? Well, what does that mean for the person? And then there's a whole learning journey of what we talked earlier about, how to reach the essence and the true voice within.
Right. Well, thank you for those tools, because I know that when you do get hijacked, it's a very disrupting sensation,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh,
it
yes.
it usually hits you like a truck. You're
Yes.
not expecting it, and you're just blown away. And then it's terrible because you feel like you have no control. But you're right.
That's
We have
true.
to.
You
Yeah.
don't. There is
Yeah.
truth in that, and that's why, I know there's two ways to deal with it. One is to at least put yourself in enough kind of training that before you go there, I mean, isn't that what any athlete does
Hmm.
before they run the race? They've done a lot of training. And so, like, training your body to get calm instantly, I would say, is part of the training. We can talk about my first step, which is stillness, learning to still yourself and go into it just like that with a snap of a finger, be able to recognize, catch that anxiety as it's building, and then do the whatever technique you've learned to change the state from anxiety to calm. Wow,
Mm.
isn't that? I mean, if we had teachers, well, we do have teachers teaching that now, mindfulness teachers in our schools, don't we? Early on in
Yep.
early education and meditation, there are teachers who are teaching that nowadays. Even just stress reduction exercises.
Oh boy, do we all need that today. It's it's
Yeah.
it's it's the world of unpredictability. And of
Yes.
course, our reptilian brain wants to have predictability, because otherwise
Mhm.
it's the unknown. And the unknown, the brain says, is unsafe. So you're absolutely right. We need to understand that we can create a calm within, even though if without
Uh,
is chaotic, right? Because it all
yes.
comes from within. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Now, I have a question here. You've got, what's the difference between eye contact and eye presence? I'm really curious.
Okay. This is one of my favorites of my seven secrets is this way of making your eyes softly. In fact, anybody who's listening right now, I'm not going to do a hypnosis type thing, but just relax the sockets around your eyes. Take a breath, and you'll notice that all of a sudden your vision changed. There's probably more that you got to see all of a sudden in your field of vision. There's could be some way in which you feel like the back of your neck and your shoulders might have dropped. Your forehead feels more relaxed because this the eyes are so close to all that brain stuff, right? So if
Mhm.
you can learn to be fully here, more present is what I call it, is because actually the eye presence follows my second secret, which is presence. But being present right here in the now, softly opening your eyes, gently gazing at people, as opposed to that eye contact, which to me
Mm.
has, I mean, you heard me, I'm just so soft. So the hard edges of eye contact have never really worked for me. Or even like look at somebody 3 seconds, another person 3 seconds, another person 3 seconds. It's more like softening your eyes, have a welcoming gaze, look gently at the people who are looking at you, and actually, the eyes are the windows of what they say is the soul. So wow, I get to look at those jewels, as opposed to,
Yeah.
ooh, they don't like me. Oh, focusing on the negative thoughts that may or may not be there. I'm not saying they aren't there, or, you may be projecting, but this technique of being able to look at somebody's eyes and be able to see them as little sparkling jewels is, I think, something that can be real transform. It has been real transformative for a lot of people.
Mm.
Eye presence.
Perspective. Yeah. Everything is perspective. I mean, when you say that, it not only creates a different sensation, but it also enhances that magnetism.
Yes,
Because
good
when
point.
people are looking from one to another, those sitting in the audience feel that they're not really being spoken to, but spoken at, right?
Yeah,
Because they're
again,
just jumping around.
withness.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. That is so insightful. I had never heard of that before. So
Oh,
relation
yeah.
no, I never had. And I do understand that the visual cortex is, I believe, the most powerful sense that we have in the brain, because it does create
Yeah.
all of those images for us. It has a whole story and history
Yeah.
behind it, which I find
Yes.
fascinating. So absolutely.
Yes.
What is the relationship between rational presence and how to apply it speaking in public?
Okay. What the word is, and I think
Oh,
it's
relation.
relational, but I
Yeah.
was just going to go rational presence. Ooh, I could talk about that too, although that's not the brand.
Yeah.
Because uh, oh, actually, I'm just going to, for 1 second, kind of go there spontaneously. Is that rational sometimes is just like, for those who aren't watching, my hand is at my neck. And so rational means like everything above the neck, and presence is everything below. What about if we integrate them? That would be rational
Mm,
presence, right? You know?
yes.
Okay, so anyway, I went there, but the what I talk about is relational presence, and that's the whole idea of learning how to be fully in this now moment, not carrying the past, whether it's the deep trauma stuff that I talked about earlier, or whether it's just um, an event that's happened to you last week and you fell apart in a meeting and you feel like you're going to get panicked again. That's in the past. And that's affecting your ability to be totally
Mm,
present in the here and now. And you project into the future, those who can't sleep for days or weeks before they know they're going to do a presentation. That's projecting into the future. How to come back to the now, and that's presence. And then when you learn how to do that with everything in your life, then when you're speaking, you begin to be present and in relation with the listener.
mm,
Kind of like I feel that you and I are just really like tuning into each other and opening up to the now moment. I just feel like we both are dropping everything and just being together.
mm,
And that is to me a quality of relational presence. And then how that helps with anxiety is because this is just so much more delicious. It
mm,
is so much more empowering, and it's so much more the real you. Your voice has a different resonance when you're in your own presence. your own essence, and it radiates, from a deeper, more impactful way, I would say. And
Mhm.
then you're the messenger. So if you take your message and you gently, with your soft gaze, deliver it to one person at a time in your audience, it's like that's presence delivering it to somebody else's presence.
Mm, absolutely. That was beautiful. Your
Uh,
presence delivering to another person's presence.
yeah.
Yeah. We keep that in mind, and our anxiety should calm down, really,
Yes.
when we put it in those
Absolutely.
terms. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, you may have already answered this question, but why can't people control their anxiety when they must speak in public?
Yeah, that goes back to what is the cause, the underlying cause. And if it hasn't
Mhm.
been treated, I feel like it's gonna mm, be like a little munchkin back there ready to pop up. So, yes, I've worked with people who feel like they, for the most part, have overcome the anxiety, but they still have the fear that, oh, it's going to show up anytime. I'd like to go the full run all the way to, oh, if it comes up, I know what to do. And that the skill or the ability to go into centered presence is always there so that they can call upon it should those little niggly fears start to arise, so they can catch it, check it, and change it right then and there.
Mhm.
Um, why does it feel like you can't control it? Well, obviously because you can't. When that nervous system gets, the word you used earlier, hijacked, it's like you really are like with the loop of the cane being dragged around. And so it's learning how to stop, breathe, look in that soft way, and listen. That's a whole nother lesson I talk about, is learning how to be the biggest listener in the room.
Mm.
So I think it's just
Y-
those knowing what to do when it happens
Yes.
is is the key. And not so much that, oh, it can never happen, because you never know. You never know.
Yeah. That's the thing, is it you don't know. And that's why it's called hijack, because it just pops up. I mean,
Yes.
I say that from
Mhm.
experience, because you just be
Mhm.
perfectly fine. And then for whatever reason, boom, it's there. And when you were speaking, what I thought of was you're offline. It's almost like
Oh,
your computer is,
uh-huh.
we have all these interconnections within us and all these neurons that make, that have neural pathways. And I just thought of, wow, when you get like that, you've been not just hijacked, but you're offline. It's almost
Yes.
like you've been
Excellent.
unplugged,
Oh,
right?
yes. Yes, yes, yes. In fact,
Yeah.
that's one of the analogies I use, is plugging into, when I did used to do my in-person trainings, soon back to do that, but we will see, is you take, in order to have that connection, which is another one of my secrets, you actually look at the person softly gazing, and you see through their eyes their essence, and you actually plug into, and that's where the energy,
Mhm.
right? The electrical
Right.
energy.
Current.
And then one of people say, yeah, but what about all the people around in this section? I said, when one person feels the electrical charge, it radiates out all in that section of whoever you've done that with.
Absolutely. And as having those tools, as you know, because you're the expert in that area, that is so vital to have in your back pocket when you do
Yeah,
become unplugged, right? It's having
yeah,
those tools,
yes,
like you said. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So you know how to get back in. So
right. Breath
engaging
is the
listen.
first one,
Oh, okay,
right?
go ahead. Yeah, breath is the
Right.
first one.
Isn't breath the easiest? I mean, we always
Yes.
have that,
Yeah.
and we know physiologically that it's a soothing medicine that we have right at our disposal. And it's not just a kind of
No.
that kind of hiccup breath. It's got to be slow. And I like to say easy and deep, full breath.
Mm.
Ah, even when I just said that, my body kind of responded. So you train your body to respond to something like I just said. Slow, easy, deep, full. Ah.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. Now we're all
Mhm.
going to go to sleep. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
that's what
kidding.
people say sometimes. They have that effect on people, but
Yeah.
I'd rather be that than kind of be one of those superchargers that's, because I think this charging that you and I are doing is of a deeper nature, and that's what I want people to wake up to, is the
Mm.
deeper nature.
Absolutely. Well, I'm 100% with you, Doreen. So
I know.
now, looking on the other side, how can someone engage their listeners? Now, we did cover the eye contact, and maybe we've touched on most of the things that we can do to engage the listener. So you let me know if we've already answered that question.
Well, I would go back to definitely eye present, softly, gently, because it's more of a welcoming. Even what you're doing right now, the gentle smile goes along with saying hello, hello out there. It's just like, ooh, they want to. You become the magnet. And then the second thing is to look through their eyes and see their essence.
Mm.
But you have to believe that there's an essence inside of everyone. And
Right.
then the one that we haven't talked about, which is more about listening, is help them feel like, and how do you do that? It's a whole technique, but listen to them and have them feel like they're being listened to, not just being talked at. It's a very subtle technique, but basically, how to say it maybe more in a way that people might understand it is pay attention to your listener so they feel seen and heard.
Mm. Yes,
And it's not just about
absolutely.
your words. And it's
Hmm.
one person. It's just one. And so if it's just one person, that's another trick to get over anxiety is, hey, we're just having a conversation. Oh, here's another person. I'm just having another conversation.
Yeah, it's about that connection. Absolutely.
Yes.
Like in your bio, you hit on something really significant, saying that a lot of the issues come from a lack of communication and
Hmm.
understanding. And oh my gosh, is that ever huge in today's world, especially with the social media and the internet? We are becoming creatures of uncommunicated individuals because we just don't know how to communicate with each other anymore. So
Yes.
that's a whole nother podcast. Let's put it
Yes. That's
that
all another.
way. Really,
Yes.
for sure. So I'm really excited about your book. Tell us about the 7 secrets to fearless speaking.
We've mentioned almost all of them. Be
Okay.
still, be present, be attuned, be aware, be positive, be connected, and be yourself. Those are the 7 secrets that I talk about in my book, and I call it essential speaking because it's speaking from the essence of who you are. And the cover that's being shown right now on the screen, you can see the inner diamond that's within. So think of yourself as having a jewel within you, that's where your essence is. And this whole idea about it being secrets is because, hey, nobody's talking about it being an inside job. They want to give you more performance techniques. And that's fine for sure. There are plenty of people that need to get out and have those performance techniques, and it's important for media for sure. But I work with the population who aren't really comfortable even expressing themselves, let's say at a dinner table. So it's
Mm.
life is your stage, I think, is what I'd like to say, is why I do the work that I do, is so that people can assert themselves in any situation. They have a voice. Find your voice, change your life.
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. Yes, that was Shakespeare who said all the world's a stage. And boy,
Yes.
did he he was so tuned in, way ahead of
Yeah.
his day. But now, with science especially, now we understand so much more about the human mind and the brain and how we function as humans.
Yes.
And we make it way too complicating. We
Uh-huh.
do it to ourselves, and that's something that's
Uh-huh.
very hard for many of us to accept. No, it's not my fault. That was just the way I
Uh-huh.
was brought up. That was another situation. It's like, yes, but it's how you frame things that are happening, like you said. So absolutely. Well, Doreen, if there was one critical message that you could share with the world, what would it be?
Mm. I guess that's why I had my tagline, find your voice, change your
Mm,
life. And that, what does that actually mean? You were on my podcast, Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcasts, and there are over 125 episodes people could listen to and understand and what that means actually. What does it mean to find your voice? Because your voice, it's different at different stages in your life. Or is it like you never felt like you had a voice? And so there's lots of ways in which you can, what that means to you, find your voice. And then obviously, if it's even like returning a item at a store, which I used to be really afraid to do, you have a voice to do that.
mm, right. Small steps. Absolutely. Well, tell our audience about your coaching program, where they can get your book. And I know that you do have a 30-minute chat that's available on your website. And of course, you have a podcast. So just briefly tell our
Yes.
audience where they can get all of that. And this will also be available on the Epic Vision Zone bio pages. So go ahead.
I think the most central place is my website, Doreen Downing, and that's Doreen, DoreenDowning.com. And there are access to, I have a free video series that goes through each one of the steps as we talked about today. That's on there. And I have a quiz, a Find Your Voice
Mm.
quiz that I've just designed. So I'd be excited if any of the listeners wanted to sign up and take that quiz and see what we've got. And then, of course, on the website, they could get connected to the free chat, the free 30-minute chat.
Wonderful. All those tools and wonderful gifts. Take advantage of them, because this is something we can all learn from. It's not just those who already have a voice, because there's so much insight and power to what Doreen is saying. And I do believe it can change. It does change your life. And it's the tools that we
Mm-hmm.
can have for the rest of our life. So, one
Mm-hmm.
last question I have for you, Doreen, because we are here on the Epic Vision Zone. If your life were an
Uh-huh.
epic story, what would the title be? And you can't use that subtitle, Find Your Voice, Change Your Life. Let's come up with
Uh,
something else. So, what would it be?
uh, uh, well, Jane, I'm 75 years old, and I think that I am I am living my epic vision. You said something in my podcast last week about the importance of having a vision because that draws you forward. And this whole idea of moving without even knowing you're creating your epic vision because it's part of what you see in front of you always. And so um, I guess I start with I don't want to say it's never too late. That isn't really the title of it, but uh, I guess I love this idea about epic vision, living your vision now. That would be it. Living your vision now.
Hmm, that's perfect. I love it. Living your vision now. Absolutely.
Um,
What are we waiting for? And by the way, you look fabulous for your age. Not that that makes a difference, but you
uh,
could tell you're in your essence, because I do believe too that
uh,
makes a big difference on the way people appear. Because when
right.
you struggle a
Yeah.
lot internally, you do have those kind of it affects your physical body as well. But yes, living your vision now, absolutely perfect. Okay, now you have to write the book.
Okay.
So thank you again, Doreen, for joining us here today. And for information, once again, to connect with Doreen, go to the Epic Vision Zone pages, where you will find her social media and direct contact information. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath. And don't forget to connect with me at janeapplegath.com, where you can get access to your free download, The Keys to Your Dreams. Sending you much love and success. This is the Epic Vision Zone, transforming your dreams into epic success.